So I started Brave Talks because in 2014, I was at a wellness symposium and Amber Valletta went on stage and gave a speech, and her speech was about addiction. And the first line that came out of her mouth was, "I'm coming out to you today as an addict." And for me, just that line was so jarring. And so it just illustrated where I wanted to go with my life. And that was towards radical honesty. And at the time I was modeling, 4 months prior to the wellness symposium, I had had full body liposuction while I was a plus size model. A few years before that, an ex-boyfriend or a boyfriend at the time had told me real women have boobs. And so I'd gotten my boobs done. And all the while, I'm not shaming any of those actions, but I'm wanting to expose the truth and be radically accepting of my life, because at the time I couldn't accept that I was a plus size model sharing this statement of love your curves and love your body and radical self-acceptance. And at the same time, I was a person that really needed it the most. So I started sharing the truth. And so that's how Brave Talks was born, was on this idea of radical honesty and sharing conversations that are really transformative for people listening and watching, and hoping to give them that moment of, wow, that was really profound and that was really honest and really brave to say that. And thank you, because it's opened my eyes up to whatever it is. So when I got started modeling, let me back up a little bit. I was as a young girl, I was a little overweight. I was always an athlete. I loved animals and science and, playing sports. And people would say, "You have such a pretty face," and they would never compliment the rest of my body, or I felt very unworthy everywhere else but my face. And so I think a lot of the reason why I started modeling and why I wanted to model was to prove to myself that I wasn't just a pretty face, and that I was more than that, and that type A personality in me really wanted to prove to myself that I was, better than what I had been told my whole life or bullied for or whatever. So what I'm really interested in wondering is what your childhood was like in growing up, and the why you started modeling. Not just like I was discovered. Was it as simple as I was discovered, or was there a reason why you started modeling?
I think there was like multiple moments. It's funny that your Brave Talks, I'm actually recording a podcast at the moment, very similar to your Brave Talks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like honesty. I think honesty is the best policy, and I think there's way too much bullshit in this world right now. But yeah, modeling for me, yeah, it was like, it's kind of similar to you. Everyone was suggesting I should model because I was tall and had a decent face. It's symmetrical, in my opinion, as a photographer. You can, angles and stuff. And my auntie modeled. Coming back, I didn't actually think modeling would actually ever take off for me, seriously. I had a love-hate relationship, probably like you, with my body. I'm 6'2", I'm very tall, got very big feet. And I was very curvy in comparison to the models that everyone's saying I should be. And I'm like, I've met Gemma Ward, she's half my size. I can't get to that stage. I've tried, and I did, at 14, I was starving, did all the, crazy, stupid stuff that 14-year-olds do when they're told to lose weight. But yeah, my career took off at 18, 19 when my agent, Chelsea Bonner, told me not to change a thing. She was kind of like, stay exactly as you are kind of situation. And that was, for me, the first time anyone had ever said that to me. And, Chelsea is kind of like a big sister to me, has been my manager now for like 12, 13 years. Because of that, no one had said that to me. Just stay exactly as you are. You don't need to change a thing. That had a profound effect on me. And yeah, and then I suddenly realized, yeah, fuck it, I don't have to change a thing. But it is a long road to that. And teenage years, it's like brutal. I don't know, all girls can go through. Well, you've just, especially for our era, I feel like thin was in. It was that stupid notion that heroin chic, like, don't forget your health.
Yeah.
You know, focused on skinny, which seems so stupid to me now after nearly dying, I don't know how many times. You know, that to me seems very stupid. I think health is your most important asset.
Absolutely. When it comes to hearing stay the same, you're perfect just the way you are, that had to be so empowering to hear that from another woman and someone who is your agent and manager, that you feel confident enough to be you. I know from experience, I have walked into 2 different agency offices. One of them, I was just recovering from an eating disorder. And it was the first time in America we have Thanksgiving, which you know, now from being here for over 10 years. I had just eaten like a full meal, and it was maybe like the day or two after Thanksgiving that I flew back into Miami and met my agent, and she told me to strip down naked in her office, and I was in like a thong and a bra because she wanted to get digitals, which if you're unfamiliar with that and you're listening, it's just like raw images that we update clients with. And she just scolded me. She's like, you have a belly, you're fat, what happened to you? You need to go lose weight. And it just was this terrible downhill spiral that created another disordered eating habit and pattern. I had another experience that I have written about in a memoir that I haven't published yet. It's called Stick Figure. And I talk about walking into another agency, and this is more of a matter, I think, of mental health, really, but approaching my agent and saying, look, I'm going to these swim castings and I'm seeing these women and they're gone for 3 months, and then they come back and they're curvier and they're like flatter here and they're bigger here. And I know there's something going on that no one's talking about, but like, what do I need to do to pay rent? Like, what's going on? And so the conversation ended up, I left the meeting with a stick figure drawing of everything that I needed to change on my body. And so I ended up getting liposuction in 16 different places of my body, risking my life.
That's intense. Liposuction's hardcore, bro. That's like, yeah. I've seen it being done so many times. It's like,
oof. I couldn't even watch it. I was in denial myself. And so you have to almost numb yourself to those situations mentally, because the obsession with perfection and body image was so intense that you have to block it out in a way. So, I had these like crazy experiences with agencies, and it's so nice to hear that you have such a wonderful manager who has got your back. And
yeah, I mean, trust me, there's been plenty of other agents that have laid into me for all kinds of reasons, but she was pivotal in that recovery session. So I feel like, you're getting liposuction after someone drawing a stick figure after you're recovering from an eating disorder. I mean, did that agent at the time know any of that? Or
know what?
That you were recovering from an eating disorder?
I don't think it was a conversation that we had, but I had also been a size 04 model. I was a straight size model before I switched over. So
kind of similar. Yeah.
You have similar story?
Yeah. No, that makes more sense. Cause
yeah.
It's a transitional change going from straight size to plus size. It's like I think that's what kind of, messes with girls' heads a lot of the time. Like they have to, and that's what agents kind of feel like they have the right to lay into girls, especially at that age. I don't know why, but yeah.
It's crazy. Did you ever feel the desire or pull to change your body?
Oh, yeah, all the time, of course. Yeah, like, I mean, Instagram is perfect too with all the filters and Photoshop. I mean, girls get stuff done all the time, you know, and there's lasers and there's, you know, workouts and trends and lipo and things like that. I think everyone has that pressure of perfection. And yeah, no, all the time, you know, they would tell you to do this or to do that. But yeah, in my mind, I think having that Chelsea moment, and, you know, I can't change my feet, I can't change my height. So the things that, you know, were like, might have been holding me back, couldn't change anyway. So
Right.
force acceptance of something. And I think, you know, being 6'2" now, bordering 6'3", I actually love it. But that took a long time to love. You know, a lot of tall girls message me about that, because, you know, there's tall and then there's too tall. And I, you know, would get my head, you know, they're like, you're just a little too tall. And I'm like, you know, it's just like, I can't shrink. So I really can't shrink my bones. So yeah, my problems were, I couldn't change. Like, there's no shrinking. And I'm now so happy that I wouldn't even try, because I love, like I said, being tall. It's like the one thing I love.
I love hearing that. One of my good friends is 6'5" or 6'7". She was a WNBA player.
Nice.
And I heard on your Ellen interview, she mentioned something about your height, and she said, well, you could have been a basketball player or a model, so you had to choose. And I was like, wait, that was our one moment of like female empowerment, to be like, you could have also been a scientist. Yeah. You could have been a gardener. You could have been like.
I know. Well, that's the thing, you know, most of the time people would, you know, meet me, they're like, do you play basketball or do you model? Those were pretty much the two questions I was majority asked. But there
was another interview that you were on. It wasn't an interview, it was some talk show, and this guy had mentioned that he knew the editor of Whitewater Fishing magazine. I think it was some talk show.
Oh yeah, I think I know. I think,
and you were like, yeah, I'm vegan. And then some guy in the audience, or like who also was on the show, he was like, well, that's like asking her to club a seal on a first date or something. And so I understand, like, in that moment, you know, I get it, it's TV, right? But I also don't want to minimize the responsibility of being a public figure on TV and listening, the power of listening. And I felt your uncomfortable character and that moment of discomfort, because your response was like, I'm a vegan, and you started talking about clubbing a seal. And so I was a vegan for like 8 or 9 years, and I realized it's not just like a diet that you choose, it's more of a lifestyle and an identification. And so here's one of the things that bothers me as a female, as a past model who is considered like another pretty face, is that was a great moment for that guy to ask you a question and not to laugh it off, like, and to have a teachable moment. And so I'm just curious if you have opportunities as a model, even though like you're getting your picture taken, to share teachable moments. I know you love talking about the environment and your body image being good the way that you are. Have there been any like pause in these like situations where things are so quick, and teach people about certain things?
Well, I love comedy, so, you know, I can respect that was a comedy show, and I knew what I was going in for, and I had a lot of fun that night, and they were respectful. But, you know, when it's live and you're like, suddenly you're just not ready for questions like that. But yeah, you know, comedy actually gets me through life. Like, I watch so much British comedy and so much American comedy. Like, I was watching this vampire show, We Could Be Shadows or something, last night, and it gets me through. Like,
really?
Yes. So, but in those moments, yeah, like I said, I could have not said I was vegan. I could have been like, yeah, you know, I could have gone that way, but I was like, no, dude, I'm vegan. So no, like, I don't want to watch that. So for me, I did give the respect back that I wanted. I told him what I was, and I was, vegan as a teenager, and I used to keep it secret as long as I could, because people would be so, they would bully, or they would really get into you. Like, my family and I would have the biggest fights about it. Like, people did not respect veganism back then at all. Like, it was very hard. So yeah, so now I'm very loud and proud, but yeah, as a teenager, I would hide it, like, at all costs.
And then you recently became vegan because of your lupus diagnosis, or were you vegan the whole time?
No, it's been like a love on and off, I had lupus without knowing it right before my daughter was born, and I cured it by going raw vegan at the time. And I wasn't pregnant yet. I actually got pregnant at that time, because lupus patients actually have a lot of trouble getting pregnant.
Wow.
But I didn't know, and I had a rash growing that was eating my skin. And yeah, it's very like lupus, like Seal the singer has all those scarring from like lupus. So lupus is very serious, and I was doing work like crazy. I just finished my cookbook, which has a lot of meat in it. I'd been eating full fat dairy and full fat meat, and trying to do the France way, eating local, and I got very sick. And yeah, and I don't know if it was stress from the cookbook and modeling as traveling, or what I was eating. I photographed the whole bloody thing, so it was a lot of work. But my partner and I went raw vegan, and the rash went away. Like, doctors didn't know what it was, or acupuncturists didn't know what it was. Like, I went to everyone and anyone, and raw vegan fixed it. And then I got pregnant, and then my cookbook came out, and I was like, just forgot about the whole thing. And after I had my daughter, I had 2 strokes. So I nearly died, and I had the stroke symptoms, and no one could recognize it because of my age. You think an old person's going to have a stroke. You don't think a young person is, because lupus can cause blood clots because of APS. It's like a huge, lupus is often cast aside as like one of those autoimmunes that doesn't really mean anything, but it actually does. You can actually die from lupus, and APS especially. So when I, even after all that experience, I still went back to eating meat and dairy and ignored it, got back really fit and healthy again as much as I could. And then, lupus was still there, and seizure. And then I had the seizure down the staircase. And then that was like, you know what, I'm probably going to die if I don't fix this. And I, kept thinking about that vegan moment before my daughter was born. So I was like, there is some truth in this. And then I found Brooke Goldner, the doctor, who wrote a book called Goodbye Lupus. And yeah, did her rapid recovery group. Still, it's very hard. Like, I love food. Like, I'm a big, I'm like an Italian mama. So I couldn't eliminate everything, but animal products I could get rid of, they were the easiest things for me to get rid of because of the environment. And I only had to watch a few videos of animals getting slaughtered because I'm very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
And then I felt really guilty about my cookbook. So going back to being vegan, and my partner did it with me. See, my family never did it with me. My partner did it with me willingly and lovingly. My daughter loves being vegan. And yeah, we really focus. So I still, to this day, drink her smoothies every day. And I take about 6 to 8 cups of green spinach minimum every day. Someone my size could even have up to 12 cups. So I know that sounds intense and extreme, but when you're sick, you've got to just fill your body with as much nutrients as you can. So I still haven't eliminated sugars yet. My next thing. I love processed food too. So eliminating sugars and processed food will be my next thing, because I need to, because I'm still having seizures, unfortunately. And that's the only way you can really, truly stop it.
That's got to be scary. I know the falling down the stairs experience would be so scary, especially what I heard is that you woke up and your daughter was by your side, or she was by your side when the medics came.
Yeah, no, I woke up to blood, and my man just, saying, "Don't worry, Robyn, don't worry. I'm calling the ambulance. They're coming." Like, my tooth was, over on the other side of the ground. Like, my daughter was staring. Like, I really was messed up. And you know, seizures are new to me. They're such a different game changer,
Yeah.
and they're very intense, but seizures come because of the stroke damage. So that's why I'm trying to promote veganism so well, and knowledge of lupus and APS, because if you do get a stroke, you could get seizures. But hope in all of that, I'm trying to see if I can fix it. And if I can fix or reduce the brain injury just by diet, I mean, that is like revolutionary. That is like, and she has, like, Brooke Goldner has done that repeatedly. So, you know, for me, my life now, I feel like it's more important just to eat like the healthiest food, plant it, grow it, compost it. Like, I mean, Mother Nature's literally fixing me.
That's amazing. I totally agree. And this, like, I try and live that 360 all-encompassing well-being lifestyle. Of course, we take hits here and there, but as we can, you know, continue practicing these methods of high nutrient density lifestyle and diet, not dieting, but focusing on nutrition and moving for fun and getting exercise every day, limiting stress, or if it's stressful, it should be like a good stress, like eustress. So anyway, I try and do that too. And I found I'm not vegan any longer. I've actually had some challenges in my family. My son has life-threatening food allergies. And so our diet is
What is
really,
he allergic to?
he's allergic to a lot of things. So he's allergic to all nuts, peanuts, all eggs, fish, so salmon and tuna that we know of, scallops, what else? There's some, oh, sesame, so we can't have like hummus. And then there's, you know, like the weird things that pop up that you're like, why do you have hives right now? What's going on? And it's scary because for me as a mama, I'm constantly evaluating, okay, where are we now? Where are the allergens? And like, has
Soy
that,
affect him?
huh?
Does soy affect him?
It actually did. We gave him soy sauce, but he had the back test and it didn't show up as a soy allergy. So I haven't given him soy sauce. We did give him coconut aminos.
Coming. Does
What's that?
soybeans, like soy milk and stuff?
Um, I haven't given him soy milk. I think I've tried soybeans. We tried
Soy
to,
usually like quite inflammatory. Like it usually does. Like if you've got a food allergy, soy usually does cause it. So it's just so
yeah,
you don't have to try. Usually they are allergic to soy.
a
Um,
lot of kids are allergic to
yeah.
soy. Yeah, we tried coconut aminos though, and he also got a rash and he wasn't allergic to coconut. So it's like this whole weird puzzle. And so we've had
I
to,
think you need to try Brooks.
huh?
I feel like he needs to try Brooks' program.
Brooks program. Well,
She does.
he
She does kids, man. She does things like this all the time.
I'll have to look into it. Thank
Because
you.
well, it does because it doesn't have nuts and things like that in her rapid recovery, and she does
Okay.
like autoimmune problems.
Okay.
I met a child the other night with a similar problem to your child, who was covered in hives, and I just wanted to talk to his mum so intensely. But I know that as a parent, you must get that all the time as well. But I just wanted to let her know about Brooke Goldner's program because it, like I said, it works. Like it's not raw vegan might also work, but like you said, nuts and stuff. So you might even have to go more specific. But it is hard getting kids to drink 8 cups of greens and stuff. It's not the easiest
You
thing.
like smoothies. We make them into like popsicles and
Yeah,
we
but
get
yeah,
creative.
you've got the right idea. Like I put in like raw cacao powder for my daughter to make
Yeah.
her drink the smoothie sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he just, you know, following that would help him at all. It's worth a
Absolutely.
try.
It is. There's so many doctors. Allergies are really weird.
Yeah, they are.
There's so many different practices on, you know, whether you're maintenance and trying to be safe about it and just avoid all allergens, or if you want to join the desensitization
There's also a
area.
lot in the farming industry too. A lot of the glyphosates that they farm with, you know, organic, even just like what they spray in the air, the pesticides and insect, like they
Yeah.
really affect people with allergens. Like we weren't meant to be exposed to majority of those chemicals. That's why, you know, allergens are so big and prevalent at the moment.
Absolutely. We're trying to reduce our toxic load as much as possible. And during COVID, I found it to be a lot more challenging because the products that I normally use, sometimes they're not available. Sometimes we, sacrifice organic produce for non-organic and conventional produce. And, for me, I'm like, okay, stressing about it is causing more harm than actually being obsessed with it. So we're just giving it the best shot we can. But do you have any tips on reducing toxic load in the house?
Yeah, well, like I said, if you have the space and you have a garden, compost and grow your own is the best way. And you'll get that nourishment from nature. Like, you need to get outside. Just like I said before, just increasing your greens. Doing yoga really helps too. Like, I know even when I was eating meat and stuff, yoga used to help really recover, like really intense yoga, meditation too. They're really helpful. But yeah, I mean, it is, it's toxic. It's hard at this time. COVID makes everything a lot harder. Obviously, children are at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, I think, take them outside as much as you can. Get outside, get into nature, go on hikes, get into creeks. Like, just, I think that's the best thing you can do at the moment.
Absolutely. We're trying to get outside as much as possible right now. And it's definitely not without challenges because, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah. I mean, I say all that and I like, yeah, it is. I understand how challenging it is.
Yeah. But I get it. I just can't imagine being a mom in New York City right now and having to live and work and have your kids with you. It's just a lot. So thankfully my husband is a great co-parent and is helping me and I'm helping him, and we're doing the best that we can with this crazy time. In terms of self-compassion, you've been a huge advocate of all different body sizes. You have a swimwear line. Do you still have your swimwear line?
It's, some pieces are still for sale on
Okay.
websites, but I'm probably, if I can't do it properly, I'm trying to make it eco-friendly.
Okay.
Which is actually very hard.
I imagine.
Eco-friendly swimwear, because even recycled plastics often have a lot of chemicals, leak into the water. Natural fibers break down too easily, so it's been complicated. I've been trying to figure out, because I have girls, because I'm similar to my cookbook, my swimwear was my life. I would be very particular. We would design for months on end and fittings non-stop, and I would sketch out drawings, and my design team were a bit sick of me, but we made suits that I love still to this day. And I have girls emailing me going, when are you going to remake these? Because they're not, nothing's quality anymore. Everything's quite cheaply made. But I don't know. I'm curious to see if I'll remake them. I'm doing other things at the moment that are more fulfilling for me.
What are you doing?
Music.
Okay.
Music's been my love for since I was 17, DJing and electronic music and stuff. So as much as I love designing, like I said, I'm neurotic and perfectionist. So things like that just take my mind up. I want things to be perfect. And I've had such a lifestyle shift and change that, I would almost go swimming naked if I could, so I feel, doing what I actually love is electronic music. I still love designing, but unless I can make it eco, I don't want to do it.
What's your goal with music?
Just to release tracks that I like. If I like it, I'm happy, which is sad, but true. Hopefully, I would love to do a movie. This is creepy, but The Shining is actually one of my favorite electronic music movies made by a female. So for me, if I could do music for a film, that would be the ultimate goal. So yeah, that's my personal journey and goal.
That's great. I remember following your first, I don't know if it was your first music video, but you were modeling at Wilhelmina, New York, and it was I'm going to mispronounce it. Is it Robyn?
No, you got it.
Robyn. And you're DJing at the Dream in the whole music video. And that was my first introduction to your music.
That is sweet. Yeah, that was a funny. I had to make a whole bunch of my friends dance, and it's like 1 p.m. in the club. No, and I've found a really good singer recently, which is really, really helpful because I can't sing. I sound like a drowning cat. It's
Can you please release that?
No, it sounds so bad. I cannot stand it. And been really practicing piano more, and like it's been way more liberating to like know, because I know electronic music programs are really like they take your time to learn.
Sure.
But to know the whole thing and to be able to do the whole thing now, and I've gotten her into a studio a couple of times, and it's just so much fun.
I can imagine. My brother's a musician, and he went to Berkeley, and he graduated studying music synthesis, and now he teaches game design at George Mason University, but he does the design of the game, but also a lot of the music behind video games and stuff. Yeah. So he's probably would speak your language, and you guys would have a great
logic. I'm sure he knows.
Yeah. It's definitely another world. So what's one of the bravest things that you've had to do as a working mom or in the last 10 years?
Oh, I have such a bad memory. Wow. Probably give birth.
That's a pretty good memory.
That was like an intense experience I wasn't really ready for. I think I hadn't known many women, not many of my friends had a baby yet, and my mum didn't really give me too many tips. But yeah, I tried to do it naturally at home, a home birth. However, I went to 42 weeks, and so I had to go to hospital, and then I spent like 17 hours in agony, and then at the end got the choice to do epidural or C-section. I had a back labor. She was the wrong way, and no one even told me until she was coming out, and I could see her face, and I was like, oh, back labors are like I was screaming so much pain that the hospital came and told me to be quiet.
What?
Yes, I'm not kidding you. I thought it was a joke at first, but that's why I wanted to deliver
awful.
it. I know. It was a pretty sad moment for me. Because a lot of it's hours. I don't know, like you've had a baby. It was for me, my man was really helping me get through it. We'd do showers, we'd walk around. Like I said, it was like 18 hours in the hospital.
Crazy.
With an 11-pound baby.
11-pound
baby who was back labored, and we didn't know at the time. So like every time I'd have it, like it was just such pain. But my doula was amazing. She had these pressure points in my back, and if you press them really hard, the pain goes. It's like,
what?
Yeah, it's incredible. No one tells you this stuff. But yeah, so my doula and my man were really helping me. But
wow.
I just wasn't ready for that whole experience. Like it was 23, 24 hours total, and just like I think birth and pregnancy needs to be talked about more for girls, and what to expect and what to go through. And
yes,
even when Ripley came out, she was like purple, and like they had to get her breathing, so they were like slapping her, and I was like because I'm like such a natural person. I'd planned like a home birth with my baby like on me. I did not expect the doctor to be slapping my baby. But they do that in hospitals. So, to a doctor, I might just sound like a crazy hippie right now. But yeah, I think birth was definitely the bravest thing I've ever done. And I felt that baby come out. Like I said, epidural did not help that too much in a back labor. I felt it quite clearly and could see it. And I have video footage of the whole bloody thing. So
literally the whole bloody thing.
The whole bloody thing. It's an experience. I mean, how was your labor?
So I probably won't tell you about it because it'll make you feel really bad.
All right.
It was pretty textbook, and I was really lucky.
No, that's good. I like hearing good births too. Like, because
it's a great question, and I'm so glad that you said that you wish people talked about it more, because I've been kicking around this idea that, you know, like when you got pregnant, did you get like Jenny McCarthy's pregnancy book? It's comedy. It was really funny, but like they talk about pregnancy and then motherhood. And then there's like a few books, maybe your partner got one about you're going to be a dad or whatever. I feel like several of our friends sent us these books off of Amazon, and none of them were brave talks, right? None of them were like this really truthful storytelling of what to expect. And I think because of that, I slipped into a really into postpartum depression and anxiety after giving birth, because I never realized that it wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to leave the hospital with a baby and carry on with my life with these ideas that I had prior to having the baby. It's like this transition and this death and rebirth and this born again identity that you've got like Bambi legs, at least for me, right? But having these stories, this idea I've been kicking around is compiling a book of these real stories with themes like, you know, birth or career and whatever it is, postpartum depression, and real stories, positive stories, the truthful stories, everything all together to give moms kind of that handbook that we don't get when we leave the hospital, even before, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, hospitals too in different countries are very different. Like I was a bit shocked at the hospital in America compared to a hospital in Australia. Hospitals here kind of suck in comparison, because I've been to hospitals all around the world with my condition. I've been to hospitals in England and Germany and Australia and here, and I'm a little sad because you guys pay so much for them. They kind of aren't the greatest. Yeah. In Australia, they're free and they're pretty good. So I was a little sad by that because we'd been paying so much for this, you know, hospital. And like I said, they told me to be quiet 10 hours into a labor, natural labor. And so I just...
That's insane to me. I remember I was sitting on the edge of the bed. My husband was running around the hospital paying people off with Starbucks cards to try and get me an epidural. I was like, I don't know, 8 centimeters already. And I was like, where's my fucking epidural? And my mom's by my side. And, you know, it was that moment that really, that 1 or 2 or 3 moments in your life that you'll ever have. And I remember the nurse that was holding my hand when they put the epidural in, because my family had to leave, and she's like, oh, you're a moaner. And I was like insecure because I guess like I did the birthing class and they told me to do
I was doing deep moaning. Yes.
Moaning and breathing. I was doing the breathing that they taught me, and she was like, I just give up on the breathing. It doesn't work. Like they teach. And I was like, wait, I'm abandoning everything I've practiced like prior to this labor. It's crazy, but I got through it. And I think in that vulnerable moment, you just have to trust the team that's with you and that you've been put in this situation for a reason. And gosh, you know, but like my story is also different. Like I know a girlfriend who in that vulnerable moment still had to advocate for herself and like save her and her child's life and like think on her feet. So anyway, I just am really fascinated with truthful storytelling around motherhood, new motherhood.
Those screams weren't screams, they were deep moans. That's what they told me to stop.
Oh.
Deep moaning. Like I was moaning pretty intense, pretty loudly, I suppose, in a quiet ward in the middle of the night. But yeah, those were, it wasn't like high pitched screaming. It was like yoga moans to get me through the pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what they told me to be quiet. So that's
if I was in the room next to you, I would have gone by your side and cheered you on and been like, let's do it together, sister.
Yeah,
you got this.
Like it helps. Like deep pain. I've been through some painful situations in my life, I can assure you.
Yeah.
And yeah, moaning for those contractions was helpful.
It is. It is. I went to a really awkward prenatal yoga class with my girlfriend who's like not very hippie and yoga-y. Like I feel like it would be a natural thing for you and I to go to. And we were just getting to know each other. And this girl's like, all right, now let's sit on our yoga mats and moan the baby out. And I was like, it's a little intimidating, but okay.
Yeah.
but you get it. Like,
Yeah.
I think even just saying like moaning, like I moaned is empowering for the woman going into labor who's like, oh, I can do this. Good. Because it feels natural to me.
Take that like fear and that vulnerability away and moan your heart out. Like, do whatever you can, like get that baby out, my friend. Don't take any, like, don't feel fear about things like that. That's what I mean. I moaned louder after that lady told me to be quiet. It didn't stop. Trust me, that didn't stop me moaning. But yeah, be prepared for the negative, I suppose, and just get through with your positive thinking. Yoga, man, yoga is where it's at. But yoga really, really helps.
Absolutely. Yoga is life, man. I love yoga. I did a teacher certification when I was modeling, and it really was helpful. Although I will say that the teacher there was really like one big program in South Beach when I was living there, and he would always say yoga feels better when you're skinny. And I was a plus size model, and it like created a whole thing.
Well, the yoga teacher is what makes it so like valuable. I think I did yoga here and there. It wasn't until New York City that I did this like yoga teacher changed my whole opinion about yoga. And
Who was it?
Bethany Lyons. Lyons Den Power.
Lyons Den, yeah.
She was amazing, and she had my back. And I remember at one moment I was recovering from the stroke, and I went to her class, and I just couldn't do anything I used to be able to do. And it was just like such a heartbreaking moment. I was crying after her class, and she would come up and she would just help me get in those positions and just help it open up. And I'm not good at yoga either. I'm really shit, but it just having someone that's so good help you so much and take it on such a personal, I don't know, she really helped me. And I love that yoga place.
I mean, it all comes back to trust, right? I was talking to my mom, who's a PhD in educational psychology, and she teaches Olympic athletes about flow. And we talk about how we get into these flow moments and, these relationship dyads that we have, and how we succeed. A lot of it is trust, and having trust in the individual, whether it's in a yoga class, creating a safe space for you, doing small things like touching you the right way or not touching you to establish a relationship of trust, modeling, having your manager, believe in you and you establishing that trust with her. So important for peak performance.
Yeah. And I know from after, like I said, when your agents don't have you back, it unfortunately wrecks your career. Like, not wrecks your career, but wrecks you internally, your confidence. Because you've been through, I mean, people listening might not know, it's not the easiest job just to stand in front of the camera or runway in front of thousands of people all of a sudden. Like, you just have to transform and ignore and think positive thoughts. And but yeah, if people are tearing you down, you don't go to a good safe place in your head. Like, that's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. What are you ever going to let your daughter model?
It's her choice, her life.
Her choice.
Whatever she wants to do. I think at her age, they're going to have much more environmental problems at hand. So she's really into animals. I mean, she's also 5, so she's probably going to change her mind 1,000 times.
Yes.
But yeah, whatever she wants to do. If she wants to do it, she can go down that path. Yeah, whatever she wants.
Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on Brave Talks and just being real with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast too. What's the name?
It's a working title at the moment.
Okay.
Called Embodied with Robyn Lawley at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, hopefully it won't be out till December or next year though. It's been a big process and I'm looking really forward to it.
But I'm excited for you.
This, with the quarantine stuff, to work on things like this.
It's the perfect time.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time. Well, I look forward to your podcast and hearing more from you. Your music, just cheering you on as you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily.
Take care, Robyn. Thanks again.